Today, we're diving deep into the core philosophies of a book that literally changed the game for millions of people, Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad. If you want to finally figure out how to make your money work for you, instead of you always working for it, well, you're absolutely in the right place. We're going to break down the absolute essentials of this financial classic so you can actually put these concepts to work. Let's get right into it. But before we even touch the mechanics of wealth building, I want you to stop and really think about this for a second. Is your house an asset or is it a liability? Now, I know what you're thinking. Society, your bank, your parents, they've all hammered it into your head that your house is your biggest asset, right? But what if they're wrong? What if the exact thing you've been told is building your wealth is actually the thing keeping you stuck? Keep that in the back of your mind because what we're going to uncover today might just flip everything you thought you knew about personal finance completely upside down.
Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1, Two Dads, Two Paths.
So the whole foundation of today's explainer rests on this really fascinating contrast. Robert Kiyosaki grew up with two father figures, and man, they had radically different approaches to money. On one side, we have Robert's biological dad, his poor dad. This guy was highly educated, had a PhD, but he struggled financially his whole life. His playbook was the classic one: get good grades, find a secure job at a big company, and just work hard for your paycheck. Then, on the other side, we've got his rich dad, who was actually his best friend Mike's dad. He dropped out of school at 13, but ended up incredibly wealthy. Why? Because Rich Dad believed that real financial education doesn't happen in a classroom. His whole philosophy was, never work for money. Instead, you got to figure out how to make money work for you.
Which brings us to Section 2, Escaping the Rat Race.
That stark contrast leads us straight into our first major lesson. Why do so many smart, hardworking people end up feeling completely stuck, just endlessly working to pay bills and never actually getting ahead? Well, it all boils down to a trap called the rat race. Let me ask you, do you ever wake up and go to work mostly out of the fear of not being able to pay your bills? Or maybe you're driven by the desire, the greed, to just buy more nice things. Here's how it happens. We get a paycheck. Our fear goes away for a minute, but then we want more stuff. So our expenses go up, which means we have to work even harder. It's this exhausting, never-ending cycle driven entirely by emotion, not financial logic.
It's kind of like this quote, "Chasing the carrot just keeps the donkey pulling the cart." Think of a paycheck as an illusion. Just like a donkey chasing a carrot dangling right in front of its face, working purely for a wage is a trap. The donkey works itself to the bone, hoping to get that carrot, but it never actually catches it. The carrot's a trick. And honestly, working harder and harder at a traditional job, just hoping a slightly bigger paycheck will magically make you wealthy, that is a treadmill that is never going to lead to actual financial freedom.
Now, $9.50. That doesn't sound like much, does it? But this actually represents 9-year-old Robert's very first lesson in escaping that trap. Instead of getting a normal kid job, he noticed the convenience store clerk just ripping the covers off unsold comic books to throw them away. So Robert strikes a deal to keep the books, sets up a little reading room in his friend's garage, and charges other kids 10 cents to read for 2 hours. He even hired his friend's sister to manage the whole thing for $1 a week. In just 1 week, he cleared $9.50. And the best part? He didn't even have to physically be there. The business just ran itself. It was his very first taste of making money work for him.
Moving right along, Section 3, Assets versus Liabilities.
If you actually want to build wealth, you absolutely have to understand the flow of money. I mean, this is the bedrock of everything we're talking about today. It relies on the KISS principle. Keep it simple, stupid. It is almost dangerously simple, yet somehow most people completely ignore it. Look, an asset is simply something that puts money into your pocket, period. A liability is something that takes money out of your pocket. That's it. The wealthy get wealthy because they buy assets. The middle class struggle because they buy liabilities. But, and here is the real kicker, they actually believe they're buying assets.
Which brings us right back to that opening question about your house. Think about it. When someone in the middle class gets a raise, what's the first thing they do? They go out and buy a bigger house, or maybe a nicer car. But a bigger house means a heavier mortgage, higher property taxes, and way bigger utility bills. So the money is just flying straight out of their pocket. That house is acting as a massive liability, not an asset. They boost their income, sure, but they immediately hike up their liabilities to match, meaning they are just running way faster on that treadmill without ever getting an inch ahead.
All right, Section 4, Mind Your Own Business.
So to break free from this middle-class trap, you really have to grasp the difference between your profession, which is what you do to pay your everyday bills, and your business, which is what you do to actually build wealth. Back in 1974, Ray Kroc, the founder of McDonald's, was speaking to a class of MBA students, and he asked them a really profound question. He said, "What business is McDonald's in?" Naturally, the students all chuckle, right? They thought he was joking around. They were like, "Well, obviously, Ray, you're in the business of selling hamburgers."
But Ray Kroc hits them with this completely surprising punchline. He says, "My business is not hamburgers. My business is real estate." You see, the fast food operation was really just a clever mechanism to buy up super valuable land at major intersections all over the world. He made his franchisees pay for the land underneath the restaurants, so his profession was selling hamburgers, for sure, but his true business was accumulating income-producing real estate.
So how do you actually apply this to your own life? Well, there's a specific sequence to it. Step 1, you don't actually need to quit your day job right away. Keep it to pay your bills. But step 2, take your extra time and money and ruthlessly focus it on your business. That means buying real estate, stocks, or automated businesses that do not require you to physically be there. You got to build up that asset column. And finally, step 3, when you want a fancy luxury, like a brand new car, you do not buy it with your salary. No way. You wait until your assets are generating enough extra income to pay for it. The rich buy their luxuries last, while everyone else tends to buy them first.
Let's keep moving. Section 5. The rich invent money.
As you really start building up that asset column, you'll quickly realize that true financial intelligence isn't just about coupon clipping or saving pennies. It is about creativity, being bold, and spotting incredible opportunities that everyone else is completely blind to, especially during a crisis. Picture this. $40,000. Back in the early 90s, Arizona's economy was totally tanking. People were terrified, literally selling off properties for pennies on the dollar. But while everyone else was running for the hills, Robert spotted an opportunity. He found a house worth way more than the asking price and snagged it for just 20 grand, and he didn't even keep it. He just put an ad in the local paper and flipped it almost immediately to a buyer for 60 grand. Just by structuring the deal intelligently, he created $40,000 in like 5 hours. He literally invented money using his financial intelligence and his mind, which, by the way, he considers his absolute greatest asset.
And that brings us to Section 6, Work to Learn.
This is our final and honestly, maybe the most crucial concept of the whole explainer. If your mind is truly your greatest asset, then acquiring new skills is infinitely more valuable than just chasing a slightly bigger paycheck. You've got to work to learn, not just to earn. Robert tells this story about a super talented journalist he met once. She desperately wanted to be a famous best-selling author, but her career had totally stalled out. So Robert suggests she take a basic sales training course. Well, she was incredibly offended. She thought selling was sleazy and was way too proud to step foot in a sales class. But Robert hit the nail on the head. He told her she was a fantastic writer, but she had absolutely no idea how to sell her writing. The reality is, specialized talent is practically useless if you don't have the ability to communicate, market, and sell it to the world. Now contrast her reaction with Robert's own path. In his 20s, he actually quit a super secure, well-paying job, which absolutely horrified his poor dad, as you can imagine. Why did he do it? To join the Marine Corps and learn how to lead. Later on, he took a job at Xerox, not because the money was great, but because he was actually terrified of rejection and he wanted to use their world-class training program to cure his extreme shyness. Think about that. He took a temporary pay cut to acquire a permanent, highly valuable skill. By the time he hit his 40s, armed with serious leadership and sales chops, he launched his own massively successful company. Working just to learn gave him the freedom to take big risks early on, setting him up for the whole shebang later in life.
As we wrap up the explainer today, I really want to leave you with one powerful, lingering question. Honestly, just ask yourself this. If you stopped working today, how long could you survive on your assets alone? It is not about how big your salary is or how fancy your house looks from the street. It is entirely about whether you've built a machine of assets that can actually sustain you. Think about that question. Challenge your assumptions. It's time to stop working for your money and start figuring out how to make your money work for you. Thanks so much for joining me on The Explainer today, and keep learning.